Okay, welcome back. So last week we talked about arrays, and you can see that I have two arrays set up here. When we were doing our arrays last week, we talked about how you can find out the total by taking the number of items in each row and adding them up multiple times. So right here you would have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. That's 5 sets of 4. And then up here you have 5, because there's 5 in this column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you have another 5 in this column. And you have another 5 in this column and another 5 in this column. So you have 5 sets of 4 or 4 sets of 5. Okay, in this one over here, you have 3 in the row, so we'll put 3, and 3 in this row, and 3 in this row, and 3 in this row. Up here, you have 4 in this column, you have 4 in this column, and you have 4 in this column. So you have 4 sets of 3 and 3 sets of 4. Now, you might remember that last week I gave you some very specific instructions on what to do with sets of. You can turn this into a multiplication problem. Let me put a circle around a couple of the numbers here. You see these two numbers right here, 3 and 4 and 5. Our two sets of numbers right here can be multiplied. That's right. You can take and turn these into a multiplication problem. Instead of having to add up all over and over and over again, you can just go with the multiplication problem. 4 times 5 equals 20. Or in this other one's case, 3 times 4 equals 12. Now these arrays are always going to be some sort of multiplication problem. You can always do repeated addition, of course, but the larger they get, the harder that becomes, because then you have to start adding and adding and adding and adding and adding over and over and over and over again. But the definition of multiplication is to add repeatedly. And let's just check this real quick. Let's see if 4 times 5 actually equals 20. Because I can tell you 5, 10, 15, 20 works, and 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 works. So let's just count it up and double check and make sure. We got 1, 2, we've got 3, make that a little larger there, 4,
We've got 5, we have 6, I'll start putting them in individually, 7, 8, we have 9, 10, we have 11, 12, 13, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
looks like we're going to make it, 19, and 20. So there are a total of 20 in this box over here. And if you were to add up the 4s, you would get to 20. If you added up the 5s, you would get to 20. And if you multiply the 4 times 5, you get to 20. What about 5 times 4? What if we switch it around and we said 5 times 4? The commutative property of multiplication tells us that no matter how you switch up those factors, doesn't matter. 5 times 4, 4 times 5, 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. It doesn't matter. You're always going to get the same answer, no matter how you switch those 4s around, no matter how you switch those 5s around. 5 times 4 and 4 times 5 are both 20. Same thing over here. What's the other multiplication problem that we would get from this? If 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is equal to 12, then what is the other number that we would add? That's right, 4. And how many times will we add it? We would add it 3 times. 4 plus 4 plus 4. So the multiplication problem is 4 times 3 is equal to 12. So we have two different ways to write the multiplication problem. We can write it by rows and columns, or we can write it by columns and rows. So let's take a look at this array. This array is much larger, isn't it? It would take me a minute to sit here and count all of the boxes. On the other hand, if I were to go in and type out how many boxes there are in the columns, let's see, there's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And how many there are in rows?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Instead of adding up 6, 8 different times, or adding up 8, 6 different times, instead of all of that, I'm just going to take my 8 and my 6, and let me highlight here for just a second. There's my 6, there's my 8. That lets me know how many there are in rows. There are 8 rows. And how many there are in columns. There are 6 columns. So I'm going to take those two numbers and I'm going to multiply. 8 rows times 6 columns is equal to 48. 8 rows times 6 columns is equal to 48. Then I could also do the opposite of that, right? I could start with the columns instead of the rows. What is 6 columns times 8 rows? That's 48. Now, some of you might not know these multiplication problems. That's okay. We have our skills from before to fall back on. If you don't remember what 8 times 6 is, you haven't memorized it yet, or you just plain haven't learned your multiplication facts at all, then you can always fall back on the fact that multiplication is called what? Repeated addition. So we could take that 8 and we can add it up multiple times. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. All of that added together, if we start adding, let's put our lines out here to the side. We've got 8 plus 8, 8 plus 8. We have 8 plus 8. Well, we can do 8 plus 8, right? That's easy. 8 plus 8 is equal to 16. 8 plus 8 again is equal to 16. And 8 plus 8 again is equal to 16. Well, then we just have to add our 16s. What if I broke it up right here? What if I just add all of my 10s first? All of my 10s makes 30. So I'll come down here and I'll write 30. And then I'll add whatever the 6's come up to. So let's draw a line out there from the 6's. 6 plus 6 is 12. And add another 6, that's 18. So if 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18, then 16 plus 16 plus 16 is the same as saying 30 plus 18, which gives us a total of 48. So we just found that 6 times 8 and 8 times 6 are both equal to 48. You're not sure about 6 times 8, are you? Well, let's do the math. We'll start with 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. How many 6's do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many more do we need? 6 plus 6, 2 more. All right, so if we add all these 6's together, do you see why it's easier to multiply? Look at how simple this problem is. 6 times 8, done. Instead of 6 plus 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 6. Ugh, that'll take forever. But we're going to do it anyway. 6 plus 6 is 12. We'll put that out here, 12. And then that means that the next two 6's are 12. So we'll go out there and we'll put another line, and we'll put another line, and another line, and another line, and another line. And we'll put our 12s out there for each one of our sets of 6s. Okay, now we have 4 12s. All right, so we still got to do all that math. Wait, I know how to count by 2s. So let me count by 2s first. Let me start there. How about we'll put a little box around our 2s. It's pretty close. That's good enough. And our 2s add up. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. So our 2s add up to 8. Well, so far we're on the right track. You see that the 8 is the ending number for our answer, so that's correct. And then let's add up our 10s. Let me make another color for my next box, yellow. And we'll add up our 10s. Our 10s are 1, 2, 3, 4. So our total is 48 because 40 plus 8 is equal to 48. Okay, so it doesn't matter. We got the same answer no matter which way we did it.